Okay. Shalom, everybody. And we're starting a new Siddur, a new series on the Siddur. It's very ironic a bit. I'm not sure what the word is. That we had in the morning Seder. We started a couple of months ago. We started, besides that filming, we also started the Siddur in the group that learns here in the morning. And very successful. I think everybody was very happy with it. We started from October and not from shemoneh esray. And just today, we just finished shemoneh esray. Today we finished the Emru Amen. We still have Yevotson Shevana Beis HaMikdash, but that's surely a Tosefet. So I'm happy for myself that I can start again, and it helped my davening very much, and I hope it'll help everybody's. The main benefit, I think, is not Dafka, the Pirushim that we're going to say, as much as just each person himself thinking, what are we saying? And it's fascinating that just to think what the words are, and the context, and the position of the wording, and during davening, even if you daven slow, whatever, in davening at a pace that's reasonable, but you don't have any time to think. You can't reflect, you can't contemplate, because you have to go to the next word. So it's a very, very beautiful opportunity. I think it's the way to prepare for davening. Of course, we'll try to bring in some svarim also and pirushim, and everybody can exchange ideas. But just the fact that you take the davening and take it slow, and without rushing for the next word. The chazan is not here now, and we have all the time we want. There's no deadline. So it's very beautiful to think about the issues of davening. Also, whenever you meet somebody, you want to say something on the parsha, whatever, on Daf Yomi, but everybody's always in the sugya of davening, and everybody knows the words, the text also. Here in the class, even Balabatim that are not into learning, but everybody knows the text of the davening, and what have we been saying for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years? So it's a beautiful undertaking. Also, when a person is prepared for the davening, so when he comes to daven, he already knows what he wants to say, and he's there. But you can't think about it during davening. I think it's very hard to actually figure out what you want to say. That's not the way to daven. And truth, are you saying something? Because it's muted. If you want to say something, you're muted. Okay. So I understood that everyone wanted to start from shemoneh esray, not from October. So we'll do that. And just to there is a downside to that, because we're going straight into standing before Hashem, and the davening is not like that. Davening first is of course the brachas, the brachas hashachar, as a person says as he gets up, and then the karbonos and psukei de zimra, then brachas kriyashma, till he comes finally to stand before Hashem. But
maybe when some people come into minyan and it's already, the tzibur is already mitkadem, they have no choice but to be mitzvah. So hopefully we'll come back and do tashlumin afterwards.
So shemoneh esray is a fascinating ma'amad. It's fascinating. What's the word for ma'amad in English? This. I don't know the word in English. To be able to stand before Hashem, and it's not as if you're standing before Hashem. We're actually standing before Hashem. Of course, Hashem is not physical, and that's not the point. But whatever you'll call Hashras Hashchina, and I think we once spoke about it. Maybe we didn't speak about it enough. There's something called that Hashem's presence resides, and that's what the word shochen. The same word as a shochen, the shochen. So the Shechina means that Hashem is shochen, and Amispalal Yera Shechina Kenegdo. When a person's davening shemoneh esray, is supposed to realize that he's in the presence of Hashem. Some places it talks about you should see yourself as if you're on the Kodesh HaKodashim. And I used to think that you're supposed to. I think most people do think that way, but I suggested something else, and many people agreed or thought that is the pshat. That it doesn't mean that wherever you happen to be, so you imagine as if you're in the Kodesh HaKodashim, because you're not. Like it's difficult to do that. What are you doing? As if you're in the Kodesh HaKodashim, you're not in the Kodesh HaKodashim. So we're just imagining as if. That would be a strange requirement. It's not imaginary. The Torah is very real. It's not imagining. So what are we doing that we're, even if you're in Yerushalayim, right here, in the in the Yerushalayim HaMukudeshet, but also you're not in the Beis HaMikdash. So what does it mean? And surely if somebody is out of Yerushalayim, out of Eretz Yisrael, what's he thinking that he's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? So I think that the point is that to realize that the Shekhinah is right where he is. And the same way, if he'd be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that surely the Shekhinah is there. So that's the way he's supposed to see himself, because the Shekhinah came to him. Of course, it's not the same level of Shekhinah. There are different levels, as you find in many Gemaras. There are different levels of Shekhinah, of how much Hashem's presence is revealed. But there is a level of Shekhinah when a person approaches Hashem to speak to him. Hashem, that some of Portion say, wherever you come to speak to where you mention my name, I'm going to come to you. The same idea that when a person approaches Hashem in a way that he's Omed Lifnei Melech, so Hashem's presence actually appears. That's what shemoneh esray is, Omed Lifnei Melech. And I think it changes the whole shemoneh esray very much. It changes that a person is not talking to Hashem from a distance. He's not sending a letter. He's not a telephone call. He's not just addressing Hashem. He's mamish in the presence of Hashem, and that's the Daled Amos that become holy when a person is davening. So the Daled Amos become a kudash because the Shekhinah resides by him. I think that's how some explained that you're not supposed to go into the Daled Amos in front of him because the Shekhinah is there in the presence of somebody that's davening. The bowing down is not abstract. It's actually bowing down to the Shekhinah that's right in front of him. It does say that everyone's supposed to face towards the Makom HaMikdash, wherever they are. If they're outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, even inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so it's supposed to be towards the Kaporis, and wherever you are in Yichus La'aretz, also to face towards Eretz Yisrael towards Yerushalayim towards the Har HaBayis. I'm sorry, towards the Makom HaMikdash. So it does say that, but I don't think that a person is davening to the Shekhinah, which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He's talking to the Shekhinah, which is right in front of him, but there's a Shekhinah, call it that the central Shekhinah. That's for the whole Am Yisrael. So everyone faces towards that central Shekhinah, but there is a degree of Hashem's presence right where a person davens. I'm going to throw out something that's not really a point at all, and we said it before, but I don't mean to make a statement out of it. I'm just, when people shake during davening, the shakal, what we call, so I just would ask, if a person would be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, would he shakal? So some say, for sure. And I think some would say, for sure not. So if you personally would for sure not, so I think that that's the same thing that when a person is davening shemoneh esray, then it also should be for sure not. Some of the poskim are very upset about shakling during shemoneh esray, and I have a list of the Makomos where it's brought from the Medrash. We don't have the Medrash, but it's quoted from a Medrash. But over there, it's talking about when a person is learning. The real source, when a person is learning. So there's such an issue about you see by Matan Torah that it says Vayaram Vayanu Vayamdu Meirachot. So there's trembling. It's a kind of that's the Kalas Ma'aseh Tamana Hashem Yichamucha that brings that down also. But over there, all the sources talk about learning. And davening also, some portion will say in Pesukei Zimra, things like that, even Brechas Kriyashma. But by shemoneh esray, some of the poskim are very upset because you're standing before Hashem. How could it be that you're shaking? If you'd realize, and I'm just suggesting, if a person himself would think, if he'd be the Kohen Gadol or he'd have the opportunity to be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, would he be shaking? Or how could you imagine it? If Hashem would say, and someone would bang on the table and say, Hashem is really here now in the shul. He's right in front of you. So would you still be shaking? So I think not. But if you think yes, then I'm not saying anything. But if you personally have the opinion that if you'd be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you wouldn't be shaking, you might be trembling, but you wouldn't be shuffling the way we shuffle. So I think that it's not proper to shake during shemoneh esray because that's what you are. You are actually talking to Hashem, and He's right in front of you.
Rebbe, is it a problem? I just found a small point. If everybody's doing it and you're not doing it,
I don't think that it's. I don't think so. I don't think so. It might take a little bit of time for a person to get used to it, but if it's not just the point of not shaking; it's a point of realizing that he's standing before Hashem. If I think if a person takes this on, I'm not pushing it. I just wanted to mention it as a side point. If a person takes it on, he shouldn't be doing that. He's holding himself physically back from shuckling, but that he's realizing that he's in the presence of Hashem. And if he thinks that the Shekhinah is not far, far away, the Shekhinah is right within 2 meters, Dalar Amos. So would he be shaking if he wouldn't? So that's the reason why he automatically won't shake. I think we automatically wouldn't shake. And bowing down is bowing down to the Shekhinah that's right in front of him. It's not bowing down abstract, to the idea of Hashem. It's bowing down to Hashem right there. There is a point. I have seen older Rosh Yeshiva in my youth. I saw the older literature Rosh Yeshiva. They didn't shake. They didn't shake the way we shake. Even they've all been from a Maharal, I think, a Maharal that talks about shaking, and it talks about like how to shake. And it gives like instructions kind of thing. But if the way we shake is no instructions, it's just like like you sway back and forth as fast as you can, So I think that it really is rooted in the Hasidim. The Hasidim, they themselves talk about it in their books that originally when they had started, so they did all kinds of movements during davening, like really out of the ballpark, really even somersaults and things like that. Like it was really, and I think that it overflowed into the other camps, the literature camps also. I think that the source of our shuckling nowadays is a remnant of what the Chassidim brought in, and I don't think that that's sourced in Chazal too much. Even according to the poskim who say that you may shuckle, it's not a question about shuckling the way you see a very fast kind of shuckling. It's a very it's standing before Hashem. So I just would throw that in also. Some bring down from Chaim Volozhin that if it keeps the person awake, so it's okay. So I think he's making a little fun. He's also making fun of it a bit. But even that is questionable. I'm saying that he's standing before Hashem. So the point isn't if he's going to stay awake. But okay, you're saying like if it helps you to concentrate, the Mishnah Berurah says on this already. Mishnah Berurah brings down 2 shittas if a person should shake during from an esray. He brings down those that say not to. And he says at the end, whatever helps you for kavanah, whatever, as long as you have a good intention. But I just would throw this in, that the point that some say not to shake is because you're standing before Hashem. And those who are going to shake, they have to say that that's what they would do, even if they would be standing in the Kodesh HaKadosh. So I'm just throwing it out as just as an expression of what I wanted to bring out is that it's standing before Hashem. Okay, so we introduce when we're going to start talking to Hashem. So the first tefillah is a pasuk that we ask Hashem to help us to daven. Adonai sefasai tiftach ufi agiti lasacha. Hashem, please open up. Means please. Of course, it's a request that Hashem should open up my lips, help me to speak before you, and may my mouth tell your praise. And that's the introduction. And the Gemara says that that's not considered a hefsek, even though it's supposed to be somewhat gula with tefillah, because it's ketfila richta dami. Hashem's supposed to say tiftach is considered an extension of the tefillah, so it's not considered hefsek between gula and tefillah. The first bracha, everybody knows, the Gemara says is kavanas ma'akev. Some say kavanas ma'akev that he has to know they're standing before Hashem. Others say that he has to know what he's saying. As far as knowing what you're saying, I just would give also introduction to the whole, still in the introduction stage, that knowing what you're saying doesn't mean that you're learning. Davening is not learning. And just to bring it out to point, let's say they have these Siddurim that it says the linear translation, whatever, or line by line, interlinear, and has the word, and then it has a translation. If it's going to be in Hebrew or in English, whatever it is. So does it make sense that a person says a word and then he thinks what he does say? That's good for learning. You say a word by Yidaber, and then what's by Yidaber mean? Hashem, El Moshe Leim, but that makes sense. You read the word, then you get the translation. But when a person is talking, it doesn't make sense that he says the word, and he says, what did I just say? Is that called talking? That's not the way you talk. If anything, they should have the explanation and then say the word. So you think what you're going to say, and then you say it. It also is not so much the way that a person talks, that he is actually learning what he's going to say as he says it. You got to prepare. When you want to talk to the king, so you prepare what you want to say, and then you come prepared. You're allowed to look into your notes as you're speaking, as you're declaring before the king. but you should know what you want to say. And the Gemara says you're supposed to prepare before you daven. Of course, yes, please. Yes.
Rebbe's saying not to go word by word, like, but is it all right? Let's say it's Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur Tefillah that we're not so sure. Is it all right to stop at a certain point and look into the entire whatever the next part is, or that's also
I think the same way you'd have you might have a big president, whatever, saying a speech to the whole country, and he has his notes, and I think that is in the realm of it's appropriate that he could stop a minute between paragraphs and look at his notes and then say what he wants to say. But that kind of surah, that is proper. It's proper that he takes a few seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds to look in the next paragraph that he wants to say, and then he says what he wants to say. But not that he's studying.
I heard.
Yes, please.
I heard similar between the Chavetz Chaim. He said between bracha and shemoneh, you should stop a second to think what you're about to ask.
Yeah, that's good. That's like we're saying that before that it's appropriate. It is, but still,
right. That's what I meant. I was just bring the right to what he's saying.
So that I think is okay. But that a person is learning what he's saying as he says it, even before. Like I said, just the two options of having a siddur, which says the word, you say the word, and then you say the explanation. That surely doesn't make sense. Even to say read the explanation and then to say what you want to say. Also, it's not the surah of davening. You could say you prepared before. You're supposed to prepare before. Surely the davening of Yom Tov and Rosh Hashanah that you have to know beforehand. You have to study it beforehand, and then when you're davening, so you can make short notes as you're going along. But you're davening. You're not learning. You're not learning the davening. You have to learn the davening beforehand. And when you're davening, you're actually talking to Hashem. Also, another point about the translations. Once we're mentioning it already. I have a sefer from Kuntris, a very nice Kuntris. I have one on Shuva and Tefillah. I think he wrote one on Torah also. From somebody, his name is Rav Aber. Yabyonason Aber, Aleph Beis Reish. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it right. I heard that he says Sichot in Or Yisrael. I never met him, but I was very impressed with these Kuntrisim. So he talks about this by davening. He says a beautiful question, and I didn't get what he wanted, but after the answer, I think that it expresses the point. What's the difference between the kavanah of Kriya Shema and the kavanah of shemoneh esray? So I didn't know what he meant to say, but this is the point he says. He says that Kriya Shema is that you're reciting what Moshe Rabbeinu said to us, to Am Yisrael, and Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem V'ahavta, Is Hashem Elokecha. So I'm reciting what he had said, and I'm accepting it. I'm on the receiving end. I'm not just listening, but I'm listening to what I'm saying. It means I'm saying over what was said to me, and I'm on the receiving end. So over there, it's like learning. You could over there. It wouldn't be bad if you say V'ahavta, and then I would translate what does V'ahavta mean. Es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha, because I'm talking b'chol levavcha, you Avram, b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha. But by shemoneh esray, you're not learning what you're saying, listening to what you're saying. You're talking. You're supposed to hear what you're saying because that's the way that you talk. When you talk, you also hear what you're saying. But you're not listening to yourself. You're talking, and it's a very different kind of kavanah altogether. By Kriya Shema, you're understanding, you're thinking what you just said, and by shemoneh esray, you're saying what you just thought. You're expressing your thoughts. Chazal guided us what to think, but you're expressing the thoughts that you feel, and you're talking. You're not listening. You have to hear what you're saying. That's true. That's another point. That the shemoneh esray, I think maybe some sources say that you don't have to hear yourself, but the Gra says, I think the Pasha says that even by shemoneh esray also you're supposed to hear yourself. Just nobody else is supposed to hear you, but you are supposed to hear yourself. But no, but you're not listening to yourself. You're talking. You're talking. So this sefer, Rabbi Yonason Aber, so he said, if someone's going to say, I'm going to the grocery store to buy milk. So is he going to explain, if he'd have a pirush on what he just said, I, and he's going to have a whole pirush, what does the word I mean? And going, what is going? Going means with your 2 feet, and right, left, bending your knees, ankles, that's what going is. And the grocery store, what's a grocery store? So yeah, it's a building that has, this is nonsense, right? Then to buy milk, what's to buy and what's to milk? Milk, comes out of the cow and it's white and it's calcium. That's not talking. So a lot of the pirushim might be appropriate to study when you're studying, but when you're talking, that's not the way you talk. So all the pirushim that are going to say a whole elaboration on each word. It's not the way you daven. When you daven, you has to flow the way you think. It's true. Once you know a grocery, you say grocery. You can have a whole drush on what a grocery store is. But once you're going to say, I'm going to the grocery store, you say, we know what the grocery store is. So I think that you're supposed to daven. It's also supposed to be flowing and talking naturally and normally, and realizing you're talking to Hashem. And as much as you would be in awe of being in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, we should think about Hashem being right there where we're talking to Him. So the kavanah in the first bracha is ma'akev, and kavanah doesn't mean, as we're trying to say, it doesn't mean all the details of each thing. What is to get the flow? But a person will speak about Hashem, even the word Hashem, even Hashem. The Pasha says you don't have to think about what Yud Kei Vav Kei means. The way we say Hashem spoke to Moshe, just to make it extreme, capital Hashem, Hashem. Hashem means the name, and that's what Hashem means, the name. But you say Hashem, everyone knows what Hashem, but we're talking about Hashem now, so we know what Hashem is. How much you know Hashem? People don't know Hashem. So you have to learn that.
Doesn't the Mishnah Berurah paskin that you do have to, when you say Hashem, you're having kavanah of Hashem's adnos?
So I don't. L'chora, it's going to be there's no source in the Gemara. Let's put it like this: there's no source in the Gemara about kavanas Hashem. That's that Simon and Shulchan Aruch where it talks about kavanas Hashem. I think I forgot. Hey, Dalet, hey, Bob, someplace in the beginning over there. The source is Rabbeinu Yonah in Sefer HaYira. That's the source of where it talks about kavanas Hashem. It's not a Gemara. It's not a Mishnah. It's not a Gemara. It's not a Medrash. It's not a Zohar. It's
Shulchan Aruch also talks about it.
Right. Shulchan Aruch brings it from Sefer HaYira. The source of the Shulchan Aruch is from Sefer HaYira of Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah wrote Shari Tshuva. He also wrote a source. It's in the Shari Tshuva in the back. Most editions have Sefer HaYira. And over there he says the kavanah of the shemos. And but surely not ma'akev. You can't say that there's some. The Gemara doesn't say mention. The Gemara doesn't mention it. You can't say that it's. And then the question is if it's lachatchila even. So I'm just suggesting that it could be that it's not the way to daven. I hear the kasha. I'm accepting the kasha. Maybe I wouldn't be able to say this in another tzibur, but the Shulchan Aruch is not the source. The Shulchan Aruch is sourced from the Gemara, and if he says something that's not sourced in the Gemara, so you have to take it in the right proportion. That is not saying surely not ma'akev, and the question is if it's even lachatchila. If a person is such a big mind that he could grasp it, but it's in his natural flow. It has to be in the natural flow of talking. When I talk to you and I say Shmarya or Ephraim, it's not. I don't have to think what the name is. I don't have to think about why is that your name, even if the name would have been not because of some reason, because it's after a person, whatever the reason of a person's name. When you talk to somebody, you say his name. You don't have to think about why it's called that. So Reuven and Shimon. So the pashtus for sure is that by davening also you don't have to. There's no halacha that you have to think of why Hashem is called Hashem. You have to realize that you're talking to Hashem. You're talking to Hashem, so you realize you're talking to Hashem. And what does Hashem mean to you? So the more you know Hashem, and you have to take many, many weeks of learning Derech Hashem and other form to know Hashem. What do you know about Hashem? You know He's the Creator. The more you know about Hashem, you'll more will be invested in the name when you say Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem. But there's no point about thinking about it and delineating, that it means that Hashem is Adon Kol or Yehovah V'yeh. Whatever you think about Hashem, whatever your impression about Hashem is because of all of your studies about Hashem, that's what you're going to think about when you say Hashem. When you say Moshe, what do you think about Moshe? As much as you know about Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what comes across when you say Moshe. If you'd say Al-Havdil also, Rabbi Yashiv, what do you think about Rabbi? What do you think about as much as you know about Rabbi Yashiv? That's what it means when you say his name. So I don't think that you have to do more than that. And it might even disturb a person's kavanah. If he starts thinking, it becomes very malachuti, very artificial. If he starts thinking this word means this word means that, it takes away from the flow of actual talking. So the Pasha says that you don't have to, and it might even be taking away from the actual talking.
Yeah.
We have minutes if anybody wants. So I don't know how far we're going to get now. So if anybody wants to say anything in general about the subject, anything we spoke about, or any addition, subtraction.
What does it mean to recognize the standing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Is there some thought that a person has to have, or just the thought about standing before Hashem? Whatever he understands about HaKadosh Baruch Hu will automatically kick up that emotion.
Yeah, but he has to add on this point that the presence of Hashem is right here. It means it's not like the Hashem is here, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. No, Hashem is here. And a mashal, if you see me in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so that's where the Shekhinah is. So was there a cloud over there? No, so if there be a cloud, the cloud is not Hashem. The cloud is going to be a representation of the presence of Hashem, but it's a representation. It's a created thing. Hashem created the cloud, but it represents that Hashem is there. Here, Anan Hashem ala Mishkan Yomam ve'HT alay labo Ta'amud H Ta'amud Lanan. It's not Hashem, but it's representation that Hashem is. His presence is here. What does that mean? I'll take a talk. We have to talk about it. Maybe we did once upon a time. What does the concept Shekhinah means? If we know the Rambam is right that there's no Hakshama, Hashem is not Gashmi. So then all these concepts have to be explained. The Ramchal himself and the Mesilas Yesharim talks about Yiras Hashem. So he talks about that Hashem is Mashgiach and Hashem is present. So it doesn't only mean Mashgiach and Hashem knows and he's conscious and he's taking care, but it means that he's there. And we're saying that Shekhinah is not physical. We spoke about this by Tisha B'Av, that Hashem's Gilui, the revelation of Hashem, is in one place more than others. And when a person is talking to Hashem, Hashem's revelation is there, it's called Shekhinah. So besides whatever you know about Hashem, but you have to say to Hashem whose presence is right here in my Dalan Amos. Yes, everybody. Thank you. Looking forward to next week, Bez Hashem. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.